Welcome to Beast TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up.
Larry Porst II. How you been doing, partner?
Well, I've been hanging in there.
Well,
How about you?
Yeah, I'm hanging in here. It's Thursday night. And can you believe that we already have 45 people in chat right now?
I can't believe that.
They are going nuts in the chat room right now.
Well, that's normal. Very normal.
That's normal. We are so glad that y'all have tuned in to our little podcast. And if you're watching live and you are new, then we welcome you to just jump on in the chat room. People will welcome you with open arms, and we are just thrilled that y'all are with us tonight.
No doubt. I'm thrilled I'm here with y'all tonight. I failed another test, Mark, another COVID test.
Oh, no. So you've taken a second one then?
Well, no, I didn't. I just took a test for work a couple of weeks ago and flunked it. But I went Monday. I wasn't feeling good, and I tested positive for COVID. Ain't that sad?
Oh, that's bad. I know since we got the news, I've been kind of keeping up with you, and I know that Debbie Jones let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to fly under the radar a little bit with it.
Yeah, I was going to, but that didn't work.
We want to thank, again, everybody for joining us. We want to thank our moderators for moderating the chat room. And we also have a new moderator, and that's Cashew Gesundheit. And I'd like to brag on her. She is on she's a moderator on several of the different podcasts, and she's just awesome. And we thank you so much for accepting our invite to be a moderator, Cashew. And, well, I guess we need to get this started.
We sure
Larry?
do. Our guest got a lot to talk about. He's had a couple of encounters and goes out quite a bit and finds a lot of evidence. Our guest this week is Paul Ragsdale. He is from Northeast Texas, and we're glad to have him with us this week.
Hey, good evening, guys. How y'all doing?
Hey, Paul.
Doing great. We really want to thank you for coming on. And before we get into all of this, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
All right. My name is Paul Ragsdale. I'm born and raised in Dallas, lived in Dallas area all my life. I've been in manufacturing all my life. I am a safety manager and quality manager for a company who manufactures windows. We do high-rise glass stuff. So that's what I do for a living to support my hobby. And my hobby is squatching.
Well, what got you into this wonderful hobby?
Oh, years ago, the legend of Boggy Creek hooked me when I was a kid. And I've always been an outdoorsman. I grew up in a family of hunters. I grew up in Boy Scouts. So I've been camping all my life, been out in the woods all my life. And the ideal of Bigfoot in Texas never really was on my mind. I never thought about it. I always thought it was something up north.
Yeah.
Got into watching Finding Bigfoot, and off the Finding Bigfoot, they advertised, hey, if you want to go on an expedition, call this number. So I called that number and I went on an expedition with them, and I was hooked, buddy. I was hooked. And I still am to this day. So
Yeah.
pretty cool. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a thrill. It's a thrill out there researching and investigating Sasquatch, but it's also fun meeting the people, hanging out with guys, sharing ideas and interest and bouncing ideas off each other. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
It is fun. And since you've been in this, you have had some encounters. Would you like to start off telling us about one of them?
Sure. I've had a good visual in Sam Houston National Forest, and I visit that area a lot. That's a beautiful area. It's close to Houston. It's 4 hours, 3.5 hours from where I live. I'm in North Texas, and that's Southeast Texas, or more East Texas. But on my second BFRO expedition, I went on 4 BFRO expeditions, and on my second one, it was in Sam Houston, and we went to an area that had a gas easement line, and there was probably 8 of us that went up this gas easement, and we were hearing whoops and we were hearing tree knocks, and I was like, that's my first time to really hear something like that, and I was like, oh my, let's check this out. This is happening. Yeah. So we were walking up the pipeline some. We stopped, and we had stopped and was sitting on a big down tree. A lot of us was sitting down, and one of the guys in the BFRO that was leading us had some night vision, and he was looking up the gas line with the night vision, and he spotted one peeking out at us, and that one that was peeking out, it peeked out from the side of a tree, and it peeked out enough to where it held on to the edge of the tree and gave a full body view, and his back was to the moon. The moon was to the back of him, so you can see a pretty good outline of him with night vision. And we got to pass the night vision around, so there were several people who got to see it, and that was pretty cool. That was my first sighting, and it was probably 60 yards from us, maybe a little bit more. But it looked probably like it was about 8 foot tall, 7 to 8 foot, a little bit taller than myself. And I'm 5'11", so it's pretty good size. So going up, as we were going up that pipeline, we were getting large, not sticks, but it looked like diameter logs, probably 4 to 6 inches round, was getting thrown at us, and they were heavy, and you could hear them coming through the trees, hitting the leaves, coming through the trees, coming through the trees, and that was cool, but it was scary for a minute. You didn't want nobody getting hit and getting hurt,
right?
But it was got a little intense, and that was my first experience, and that made my hair stand up. And man, I was really hooked after that. Hook, line, and sinker. You got me. So,
what was going through your mind whenever you looked at that thing through the night vision?
I was trying to guesstimate the size. I was infatuated enough to where I wasn't in fear because there was a lot of us there.
Yeah.
We had a lot of firepower, so I wasn't worried about if we got charged or whatever. But I was just in infatuation with trying to size it in my head. How big was this thing?
Right.
So, and I got everything but one hand visual of him, so that was pretty good. He held on to that tree, wouldn't let go of that tree, but he stretched out and gave a full body and an arm, hanging out from a tree. So it was pretty good, pretty interesting.
That is cool, because most of the time people have a visual, they're either alone or caught off guard where they can't take it in. You were at least mentally prepared enough you could take it in.
Right, right, right. I'm surprised myself because I didn't know how I would react, and so far, all the ones things I've come across,
Right.
I've been pretty calm with, except for one, and we'll get to that one later.
Okay.
One that
Sounds
was
good.
not a squatch.
Okay, you do your research near the Trinity River in
Right,
northeast Texas. Tell us a
right.
little bit about that.
Well, first, these tracks that you're showing right now, those are from the Grand Saline area. Um, but the Trinity River runs east and west through Dallas. It kind of splits as it comes in from the north. And on the east bank Trinity River, it runs through pretty populated areas and right on the edge of Dallas city limits, um, Mesquite, Texas, Garland, Texas, Sunnyvale, Texas, Kaufman, Texas, Forney, all those areas. That Trinity runs through that area, and it's a Squatch highway. I mean, I've been investigating that area, been going out there for several years, and actually been doing some gifting out there, and had some pretty cool stuff from gifting, and had some interesting stuff. Put out some audio, got some screams that I couldn't identify, and I've let Shane Church mess with it a little bit and play with the audio with some, and I've had other people take a guess at what they thought it might be. Um, I've had a known Bigfoot celebrity tell me that it was a bird. I've had another friend of mine told me he's pretty sure it's a large cat doing some kind of mating call, something like that. So that's what I'm sticking with for now.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's still the sound of it. The sound of it freaks you out when you hear it because it was 5 minutes of solid screams, just one after another. It just sound like he just emptying his lungs out. It's just crazy. Now that print that's up there now, those are from the Trinity, and I think that's a palm print. That's something you're seeing that looks like this right here, because you got the four fingers, or you can see four nubs there. So it looks like a palm print. Yep, that's pretty interesting. But we've had some good results out there. I've not had a visual on the Trinity, but we do get wood knocks, and we've heard some screams out there. And what turned me on to the Trinity was I was reading some posts through Bigfoot Outlaws Hideout group, and there was a guy that posted on there that said, "Hey, I live in a residential neighborhood in Mesquite, Texas, and the Trinity River is right behind my house, and this neighborhood right here." And he said, "My house is right behind the Trinity's right behind my house." And he goes, "I swear I saw a Sasquatch looking on my fence, looking in on me." So I went out there and I got a hold of him. We text back and forth. I told him, I said, "Hey, I work real close to there, and I'd like to come out and take a look around the area you're talking about." So a lot of signs out there. I went out there. My nephew, Jason Ragsdale, Jason is he's my Squatch partner. He goes out with me, and he and I went out there and did quite a bit of research. We found two pretty good prints out there. Found a ton of impressions, lots of structures out there, a lot of small structures, tall structures, star structures, just all kinds of stick glyphs. It's just really cool, really neat area, and I'm pretty sure they use that as a major highway going north and south through Dallas area, through the Dallas metroplex, and so there's a couple of incidents where this Trinity River runs up through Dallas. They got a lot of creeks that run up into Dallas that feeds off of the Trinity. Okay, so it runs in through Garland is Duck Creek, and then through Mesquite is North Mesquite Creek. And then those creeks continue on up into Dallas. So I've had, there's a lady named Lee, a friend of mine, Lee, Gail Lee. She runs the Mesquite BFRO site. And she had she got screamed at with her horses at some horse stables right there on that creek, but up in Mesquite. So it wasn't on the Trinity, it was off the Trinity up in Mesquite. But that creek fed from the Trinity. So they're coming up into the cities. And they came up to behind the horse stables where she was at and did some whoops and scared the horses and got them all frightened, and they got a little rowdy there for a minute and calmed down, scared her. She got out of there.
Yeah.
So that was that one. I got one. My wife didn't want me to tell this one. I'm going to tell it anyway. So I'm sitting here, me and my wife sitting here watching TV one night, and my phone rings, my cell phone, it rings. And if I don't see a name on there, it's just a number, I don't answer, so I just let it ring on through, no message. It rang again, I hung up, it rang again, same number. I just stopped it. Came back, rang again, called 4 times. After that 4th time, I answered. And this lady, it's a lady on the other end, she's frantic. She says, "Are you the Sasquatch hunter?" And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Are you the Sasquatch hunter?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not a Sasquatch hunter." I said, I'm a Sasquatch investigator, a researcher, but I don't hunt them. And she goes, "Well, I need your help." She says, I've had an issue with one for the last 5 days, and he's out my window looking at me right now. She said she lived over in Garland, Texas, and this creek feeds, it's called Duck Creek, and it goes under a pretty good highway called Interstate 30. And as soon as you cross under that highway, it's pretty wooded going to that highway. But then there's some real nice houses and like an outdoor recreation area. And she said, this started 5 days ago. She said, I thought it was a black guy that was watching me from afar. She said, every day it's come a little bit closer. And she said, yesterday it got pretty close and it just looked like a heavy overcoat the guy was wearing. And she said, today it's come out here and it has an erection and it's standing at my window looking at me.
Oh, wow.
I need you to come over here and kill it. And I said, "Ma'am, I can't come over there and kill that thing for you." I said, "I'm not going to do that." I said, if you've got something in your window right now," I said, "hang up, dial 911 and tell them you have a man at your window trying to get in your house." I said, "Your cops will be there fast." She said, "No, I want you to come over here." She goes, "You know how to deal with these things and they'll just brush it off and it'll come back." She goes, "I want you to kill it." And I said, "No." So my wife can hear all this because this lady's pretty loud and I've got the cell phone out a little bit.
Yeah.
My wife can hear this. She's saying, "That woman's crazy. Hang up the phone." "She's nuts. She's cuckoo. Hang up the phone." And I'm saying, I can't. I said, I can feel it in her. It feels real, what she's telling me. And she was frightened. And so she asked me, the lady on the phone asked me, says, "Well, if you won't come over here and kill it, what size caliber do I need to kill it? Well, how big a handgun do I need to buy to kill this damn thing?" And I said, "You don't want to go there." I said, "You don't even want to go there." I said, "Best thing for you to do is call the police and stay away from it. If you have one at your window in the city." She said, "Well, I do. I'm telling you." So anyways, since I wouldn't come out there, I got her address. My wife said, "You're not going anywhere." I said, "Okay, I'm not." And it just happened to be close to where I work. So that lady hung up. She never called back. I tried calling her back, would not answer. No answer. So that next morning before I went to work, I drove to that address and there's 2 damn cop cars sitting out in front of that house. And there's no cops in that car. And I sure as hell ain't stopping going, "You seen a lady around here?" So who knows? That's the strangest things that ever happened to me. And my wife tells me that's fake. she's crazy in the head. She's messing with you because you're a Bigfooter. So I don't know. I mean,
Well,
take it with a grain of salt.
where'd the police cars were there?
Yeah, there's two cop
Yeah.
cars there, and there was no policemen out front, and they weren't in their cars, so they were either in the house or behind the house. And
Yeah.
like I said, I sure as hell wasn't going to stop and say what's going on.
No,
You know,
I wouldn't have either.
none of my business. None of my business. It's
Now,
crazy.
you were talking about this audio that you captured, and
Right.
It's pretty amazing audio, and those of us that are enthusiasts that go out and you hear this kind of audio in the pitch black, I tell you what, all of your senses are pumping on 8 cylinders when something
Right.
like this happens. And so I would like to play this audio. I hope it comes up because Yard Dog did some changes. So we'll just see if it comes up and listen to this audio. Give us some background, Paul, of who you were with and where y'all were at and what y'all were doing when you heard
Okay.
this audio.
I I caught that on a recorder. I did not catch that in person. I caught it on a recorder. We found a spot that looked like it was pretty active with breaks and some heavy impressions, big impressions. And we figured, hey, this spot's as good as any. So went out on a Friday afternoon, hung a recorder out for the weekend, retrieved it Sunday, and I sat there and listened to about 28 hours of audio. I got that. I got sound like bipedal Prince walking up to my recorder and touching my recorder and jiggling it, jingling, jingling. And then I've got some wood knocks on it. It's pretty cool. That's some good stuff. So that was, I believe it was 2017 when I got that, maybe 18. Yeah, I think so. So anyhow, it's a pretty good spot on the Trinity. I mean, there's several other researchers that go out there, and I'm not going to tell you how to get there, but it's Trinity River between Mesquite and Forney. And I believe there's more than one family unit out there. Because I've heard from others that they're more north on the Trinity as well, up further north of Dallas on the Trinity River. If there's some family units of Sasquatch in there, so I think they're just all up and down the Trinity. They keep their boundaries, or they travel and they know how to socialize, or they mark their territories and say, hey, this area is mine. You don't come in here, and you got that, I got this. I don't know. But we see a lot of deer, a lot of hogs in there. I've done some hog hunting out there, and there's a lot of food source, a lot of big alligator gar in the Trinity, big alligator gar, and that ties into another story I got for later, another encounter. Pretty cool. Anyhow, a good spot. We've been there for several years.
It seems like we get more and more encounter stories in the suburbs. And I think a lot of times is when in these rural areas and woodland areas where the cities kind of overflow, and subdivisions will pop up, and there's still woods and rivers and things like that around them.
Right.
What is your opinion of why there are Bigfoot reports coming from these cities?
Well, you got to think of their size. So with that size, how much food intake do they have to maintain that muscle mass? Okay, so I've never seen one eat. I don't know how much they eat in a day, but if they're having to run and hunt and run down a deer or run down a hog or exert a lot of energy to get their food, then why not go to the city and pick out a trash can? And why not go to the city and pick a pet out of the backyard? Easy pickings in the city. Giant dumpsters, grease vats, you name it, easy pickings. Why be in the woods when it's easy in the city? That's my thought. So, yeah, there's boogers in the woods, but they're in the city too.
I can see that, because there is a lot of waste and everything there that they could go get out of, and not burn as many calories.
You got to figure every fast food place or every restaurant throws food out. Every one of them throws food out. If it's a place that has a grease vat, they have to empty that grease vat, and it's a steel trap door that you can open up. You can scoop in there and get you some grease. I don't know if they eat grease, but I'm sure they would. Probably pretty tasty, especially if they had bacon in
it. I agree.
They say
Waffle House. They probably love Waffle House.
One of the best videos that was captured, that they say, was in Oklahoma at a Native American casino, where one was coming up and going through the dumpsters where they were throwing away trash and food and everything like that. So it's very, very possible that, it's, one of the things that
podcast, right?
That's one of the things that we check whenever we go into areas, and you have state parks and you have dumpsters put out, is checking those dumpsters for greasy prints of something going in.
Muddy prints, greasy prints.
Yeah.
Right. Heck yeah. Absolutely. That's easy pickings for them, man. And, wouldn't that make sense if you're that big? You wouldn't want to run down deer all the time. I'm sure you have to, but not all the time. Just take easy pickings, get people's trash, get people's pets. You see a lot of lost pet signs in these neighborhoods.
Really?
No, and I hate that, because I'm a pet lover. Not a lot, but you see them. You see them.
Right.
I'm a pet lover, and I hate for anybody to lose their pet, but the guy that turned me on to this place when I went out there, his name was Brian. And Brian said that they had purposely been throwing scraps out over their fence because they thought they were feeding the coons and maybe a hog occasionally. And he said one night they went out to throw it out, and he opened the sliding glass door, and he said it was a big one standing there looking over his fence. It was a wrought iron fence, so it wasn't a wood fence. He got to see the whole silhouette of it. And he said, boy, as soon as you opened that door, just a flash, and that thing took off. And so he was waiting for dinner. What's tonight? Hamburger helper.
That sounds like something I'd do.
It may be something that you have done.
No, not yet.
There you go. Right.
Now, Paul, acquired knowledge provokes more questions and the motives to get in the woods and find those answers. Right now, what questions stand out in the forefront of your mind that you are looking for the answers to?
For me, I know they're real. I've encountered them. I know they're real, but I want to know what they are. In my personal opinion, they go back Indians. They go back further than Indians. They go back to hieroglyphics, back to the old days. What are they? Are they ancient type of person? Are they ancient hominoid? What are they? I mean, they've been around for a long, long, long time.
Right.
Are they spiritual? What is it? That's my question. I know they're real. It's not a question anymore. So my question is, what are you? And there was a podcast, and I think it was on Sasquatch Chronicles, and where Wes interviewed a scoutmaster, and the scoutmaster and these scouts saw this orb. Y'all hear that one?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
So the scoutmaster was out with these scouts, and they were camping, and there was another adult there, but they saw this blue light, this blue orb that was at a distance, and it come up fairly close to them, but it kept its distance. It didn't get on them, kept its distance. And that scoutmaster claims that him and all these children, all these young boys, witnessed this orb started deforming and stretching out. And they said, and then all of a sudden a hole just opened up, and his leg steps out of this orb, and out comes a Sasquatch out of this orb, and it's a Squatch standing there. And he said they all turned around and they got it. And it didn't run after them, didn't chase them, didn't scream at them. So he said it scared the crap out of them. So that podcast out there. It's an interesting story. Interesting story. That's time to go.
Yeah.
So if they can do that, what is that? I mean, orbs to me is energy. It's some kind of energy is in an orb. So are these creatures driven off of energy? Don't know. They're massive. They're massive.
Have you experienced anything like that?
I've seen orbs and LBL I've been to Land Between the Lakes with me and Gabe, Javier, and Don and Jason. We all went to LBL, and we were at the buffalo herd. There's a buffalo herd there in LBL, and we were taking a break, and I walked away from the guys, and I walked up to the fence at the buffalo herd, and I snapped 2 pictures. And when I got back, and this was daytime, I got back over to the guys, and I was going to show them the pictures. There's an orb right on me, right in front of me. A big ball of energy. And man, it was brilliant outline orb in the daytime. So we expand the picture, and in the background, the trees in the background were dark. It was shadowy, but you could see orbs in the shadows of those trees in the back. It's pretty cool. So that was very interesting. That's pretty neat. Both pictures I took had orbs in it. So that's pretty cool.
You know,
now I've had some other dealings.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I've seen orb out in Sam Houston. Some of my friends, Javier and Jason, were out with some people, and they saw what we call forest lights, and where it's darting through the woods pretty quick and moving real fast. So they interacted with that, and that thing come up on them pretty quick to where they were getting ready to defend themselves.
Huh.
And they got up on them, and then it went a different path. It's crazy. So what are those? I don't know.
That's a good question. And LBL is our
Maybe in my
home.
next life.
Yeah. LBL is our research area, and we were out there, and we had made a stop and got out, and Debbie Jones saw an orb-like object come out of the sky. It was distant, and it moved down towards the horizon. And about the time it got down to the horizon, we started getting callbacks. And so that was something really, really interesting. I personally haven't seen one at LBL, but
You will.
yeah.
Yeah. I love LBL. That's a cool place. We're ready to go back. I've been there once. I'm ready to go back.
Well, we tell everyone, if you come our way, we will be more than happy to take you out and show you the different places and that we go to and camp out at and had different activity happen there.
All right. Awesome. I'll take you up on that. Come spend some time with you guys sometime.
That sounds good. Bring Gabe up with you.
Yeah.
We'll try to round up Don Smith.
Yeah. Old Don's up your way already. He's up in Tennessee.
Yep. So you alluded to a story about a big alligator gar and a encounter you had. Do you want to tell that story to us?
Well, it's I have several that just reports that I followed up on. Part of the BFRO, and I've got one report published through the BFRO out of several that I put out there, but one is published. And then myself and my nephew Jason, we've done some interviews of people that's witnessed stuff, and there's got a good audio interview. If you want to listen to it, go on to SoundCloud under Paul Ragsdale or Paul R. And this is a black family that lives in Elmo, Texas, pretty close to Terrell, Texas. And this black family had an encounter with a young daughter at 18 years old, and then her uncle had an encounter in the same location just 4 years ago. And when this girl was 18, she's 42 now. So this was like 20 something years ago, however long. So that's very neat place. There was a family of like I said, of black people that the grandmother lived on one house off the corner. The daughter and the son lived on the corner across the street from each other. So Mika was 18 when this encounter happened, and she's 42 now. So Mika, her boyfriend, was chasing her over to her grandmother's house, and there's a little strip of woods right next to her uncle's house. And she said she was running. She had gotten away from a boyfriend, and she cut through this little trail that they took every day. And when she got up there, she saw somebody standing there at the edge of the woods, the little strip, and she thought it was her boyfriend. And she got up there, and she was nose to nose with it, face to face, and it was a Squatch. She said that it looked at her, got big eyed. She looked at it, And she said it made a sound like running water. However, she tried to imitate that sound, and I guess it was like a low gargle or low growl. And she said it sounded like it was made a sound like running water. And she said we both kind of ooh, and then we both went our different ways.
Yeah.
And she said it was the same height as her. She said it was the same height as her, and she was 18 at the time. So imagine anywhere from 4.5 foot to a 6 foot 18-year-old. Could be anything in that range. And we asked her about smell. She said, she didn't really smell anything. She didn't think. She can't remember a smell. She said it scared her to death. She said she took off running and ran to her house. She said she about ran through her front door. It was funny.
I can imagine.
And then her uncle Ray, at that same corner intersection where that little wooded corner is, Ray's house, the corner's wooded. The next house over was Ray's, and then across the street was Mika's house. So Ray was coming home from work or from church, one of the two. And he said as he got to that little patch of woods out of the field across the street, come this devil thing that run out in front of me. He said he almost hit it with his car. He said it was on all fours and it was running, had red eyes that looked up at him, and he said it was the devil looking at me. And it was the devil, Bobby Mouche. No. Anyhow, no, he didn't say that. But he said it red eyed and it looked like the devil looking at him. And he said he let go of the wheel and just said, "Oh no." He said he didn't hit it. But the bad part was it ran into that part of the woods and then ran into his front yard and stopped. So he rounded the corner to go to his house and it's standing there in his yard.
Oh.
So he says once his lights hit it, it took off, and he said it scared him bad, real bad. So that was probably 5 years ago when that happened with Ray.
Uh-huh.
And the grandmother that lives catty corner has had 2 dogs pulled apart. So something pulled her dogs apart. Yeah. Wow. So they barked a lot. So anyways, so they got something in that area. So if it was something 22 years ago, and then her uncle had a sighting at the same spot just 5 years ago, something's living in there and staying in that area. So I told him, just lock your doors, be careful. That's all you can do. Keep your dogs inside. keep any animals you don't want eaten inside. So it's crazy. So that one was pretty neat. That one was in Elmo, Texas, like I said. And then that ThreeToed Prince was just down the street. I say down the street. It's probably 30 minutes from where this encounter was. And that's a pretty nice ThreeToed Prince. Another fellow researcher, Logan Kraft, called me and said one of his friends called him and said, "Hey, got some weird looking prints over here. Come check it out." So several years back, and Logan was just getting into it and getting into Bigfoot and stuff. So Logan called me and said, "Hey, you got some neat stuff. You want to come cast them?" So I drove out there and casted these prints, and they're pretty awesome ThreeToes. So I don't know if you can see them pretty good. You got them. They're running in that, but this is one of them. See if I can put it where y'all can see it pretty good. That's a ThreeToed. Wait a minute. I'm trying to get to it. There we go. I don't know. There we go. There's big toe, middle toe, other toe. Well, that's pretty good size print. This one's
wow.
I think it's 16.5 inches by about 8 wide. So that's pretty good size print. And then the one right next to it in that picture where it jumped off in a creek left this impression. The bottom part on this one, this would have been the bottom part where the heel is down here. You had a toe here, a toe, and a toe. But if you look at this thing, it looks like it's a long, kind of a beak claw-like thing. I don't know. It's weird looking. Can y'all make that out?
Yeah.
That thing is just weird. The shape of there you go. See that muscle deformation there? The
Yeah.
way that is just deformed. That's just crazy.
Do you think
That
it
is a
had
great.
an injury to its foot or something that it lost two of its toes? Or
I'm going to tell you, no. I think this is a genetic mutation on them because after I casted these, I guess it was 8 months, maybe a year later. Logan told me, "Hey, they found some more prints out there, three-toed, but they're little, they're small ones."
yeah,
So, so I don't think it's an injury. I think it's a genetic mutation on them.
yeah,
They're just a different variant of Squatch, you know.
yeah.
So
That's interesting. I have heard
yeah, it
that in
is.
other areas that they do find three-toed prints, but up in our
Yeah,
area, most everything we find is five-toed. But yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
We casted some three-toe prints out at Sam Houston over the weekend. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see those. Me and Gabe found them, and we had a city slicker friend, David Morgan. How you doing, brother? Anyways, David's been squatching with us forever, and everybody hoards the prints. So
Yeah.
David was wanting some prints, so we found him some prints and had him bring his own casting material out. He mixed it up and he poured them. He took them home. We told him, wash them down, let them dry a couple of days. Wash them down, give us some pictures. I ain't heard nothing from that sucker.
You know, we we think a lot about Gabe and what he's doing.
Gabe, yeah.
Why don't you just kind of tell us about last weekend and the different things that you were doing and the way that y'all went about researching out there?
All right. So we stayed at a hunter's camp, and this hunter's camp had a gas line that was close to it. And this gas line was manicured. It was beautiful. It was pretty wide, so nice walk, easy to find anything crossing. A lot of deer prints, hog prints. We saw deer running around out there. It's pretty neat, but also very easy to see squatch prints. The bad thing is with this area is the pine needles can get pretty thick, and if it's not in a good sandy, uncovered area, then what you get is just a good impression. You don't get a good defined print in the sand because there's so many pine needles. So last year in this spot, Shane Lee and one of our other squatchers, and he likes to stay nameless. So, anyways, they went out there and they raked several areas. They took a dang rake and raked a lot of areas. And I'll be dang, the areas they raked, man, Squatch stepped right in them. And they got several prints from those areas last year. So this past weekend we were out there and we walked on past down to the end of this pipeline, and just luckily we found some pretty good left foot and a right foot on the three-toe, and then a smaller print, that was off in another area. But so we stayed on the pipeline some. Those guys went down the Lone Star Trail one night. Back behind the camp is the San Jacinto River. It's a river, and Shane Lee brought a canoe that's got one of those long shaft swamp motors on it, and he went up in there. Him and one of our other buddies, Benson Alero. They went up river, and they got some pretty good vocals, got some screams. Um, they came back. Had another guy that went up with them, and they actually camped up on the river for 2 nights. And he said they had them come right next to the camp and just running by, big heavy thumps running by, screaming and whooping at them right across the river. He said so it's get pretty intense a little bit, but they're in there. They're in there pretty thick. So that's also a pretty neat area.
You are the second person that I have heard about raking out areas. And I've never heard of this, but Patrick Vaughn was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and he carries a hoe with him to rake out areas for them to step in, and
Right.
that's a fantastic idea, and I think that's
But
just
you would, in my thought, if they see something raked, they're thinking, "Oh, it's a booby trap for me. I'm not going to step there."
yeah.
But hey, look, it looks like fresh carpet. I'm going to step on it. but it worked. It worked for them. So Shane is still down there where we were at, and he's staying through the end of February. And there's a chance I may not go back for another weekend. But that's an awesome area. And the night that we left to come home, that camp, there was a lot of people that camping there that weekend. And once we left, it was just two of the guys we were with was still there, and then another camper across, an older guy. And he said, man, they were up on the edge of camp screaming, hooting, and hollering, and stinking it up. So they came back in pretty close. They kind of make their cycle coming around. They'll come around areas every 2 to 3 days, or maybe once a week. But they're creatures of habit. They'll keep hitting that same spot. Find that honey hole, they'll keep hitting it. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. We had your video freeze up, Paul. I wonder if you could refresh your screen and see it. And we will remind everyone that we're going to be taking questions here in a couple of minutes. So if you will put your questions in all caps.
That's it.
That we're waiting on Paul, device not connected. Larry, we may let you answer Paul's questions.
Well, I can try. I'm not sure I'll answer them correctly, but I can try.
So when are we going to be able to go back out camping again, Larry?
Well, I'm off for the next 2 weeks with COVID. If you want to get around me with COVID, I don't care.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to lose.
No, I don't know. I know I'm off another Monday and Tuesday here in a couple of weeks, so hopefully we can go then.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be off next month. Oh, I am off next Monday and Tuesday, but not on vacation. I'm going to be on sick time, but I was planning on us going, but that ain't going to work out. Not officially.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to send Paul a message.
He sent that to me. Paul might have got tired of you asking them questions. Any reports of Bigfoots entering Air College Station and or San Antonio? Well, we got that one filmer of bobcats from Rick Dyer a few years ago that he shot that one outside of San Antonio. That was all a lie, though. Wasn't that a lie, Mark?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, he carried it around. I think we had somebody driving the bus.
Yeah, I know the feller that drove the bus. I remember when he told me and Dan Ricky that both of our mouths, I think, hit the floorboard.
Oh, me. No, if there's creeks and waterways down there, I'm sure they got a squatch somewhere through there. What do you think?
Well, I do, and I'm glad this subject has came up about the suburbs. See, I'm just going to message him back. And we got Shelly trying to help Paul, man, because I want to hear that one of those other encounter stories.
Yeah, me too. I don't know why Joe says I don't look sick. I look sick all the time.
You said that, I didn't.
I had to beat you to it. While we're talking, I guess we can say everybody keep Johnny Gill in their prayers. Christy Sci-Fi, I know she had a stroke this past week. Her father had a stroke previous to her having a stroke. So,
Yeah.
well wishes to all them, because I'm holding up all right at this point. Unless I take a turn for the worse in the next day or two, I don't see me having any problem with this, but who knows? It's early.
Well, we've already put in dibs for your property.
Yeah, I've seen the list.
And I tell you, I've got to pull seniority on them folks, because the last time something came up, I think I had first choice at whatever I wanted. So we're going to go back to the original, what do you call it, list, or I don't know what to call it, but so y'all got to get in line behind me.
Well, I'm afraid y'all got a long wait, because I ain't going nowhere.
Larry, we have had a lot of good comments about the podcast we did last Thursday on Beast of the Woods.
Yeah, it got quite a few views.
Yeah, and you finally hit that. You're well over 1,000 subs, and we want to thank everybody that jumped over there and subscribed to Larry's channel. And I'm trying to talk Larry into doing some different things, and it seems like everything I try to talk him into, he's just not interested. I'm going to send him some other videos, because it's Larry and I are just good friends, and we enjoy doing things together. And it doesn't have to be about Bigfoot. It can be about fishing or hunting or whatever. But let's see.
I'm back.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, we did. We started talking about each other.
Hey, I'm sorry. We're still friends, right?
That's right.
All right. So where do we leave off, man?
Well, I don't know, but I think our audience would really love to hear another one of your encounter stories.
Yes, sir.
All right. I've got several, so let me go through a few of these pretty quick. The first one, the BFRO report I did, was a guy driving home off work, working the night shift. He lived in Edom, Texas. He worked in Tyler, Texas. So he was driving home. He said between 2:30 and 3 a.m., somewhere in there. And as he was driving home, he says, there's one spot in this long stretch, you cross the Nature's River. And this Nature's River Bridge is known for having a lot of deer and hog activity. So coming down through there at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning is hauling butts not cool. So he taking his time getting across the bridge. And as he's crossing the bridge, he sees something up ahead of him on his left. Okay, so it's going the same direction he is, opposite side of the road. As he gets up to it, he says it was between, I think he said it was between 7 to 8 foot tall. maybe a little bit taller. Maybe he said 8 to 9. I don't remember exactly. But he said it was a large squatch, had a deer over its shoulder, walking just off the edge of the road, same direction he was, but opposite side of the road. He said he had slowed down and he said he kind of had to duck down in his window to look up at it. And he said that as it turned around and looked at him, he said the muscle mass in its shoulder, from when you turn and look, you can feel your muscles flex. He said those muscles in that shoulder was just stupid, crazy big. He said it was giant. It was huge. And he said eyes, he got to see both eyes. So most of the facial features, the eyes were far apart, and it was a yellowish white eye shine, not red. This one was not red eye shine. This one was yellowish white. And he said it looked at him. As soon as it turned back around, he said it hung a left and shot down in the woods and just walked off in the woods. Didn't run, just kept the same pace and went off into the woods.
Wow.
So that was Edom is probably an hour and 20 minutes from my house. It's east of me. So these are all east. So I got a real good one that's close to Edom, or pretty close. They come out of Golden, Texas. Golden, Texas is it's got some pretty good lakes around that area. It's part of the Pine Belt stuff. So I had a guy, and this guy was a great person, real good guy. He was a decorated Iraqi veteran. He was a sheriff. He worked as a sheriff's officer for a while, and the service kind of messed him up. Made him. I don't know. He was all there, but he struggled a little PTSD, and he got out of the sheriff's department and he opened up his own business doing flooring. So when I met him, he was still doing his flooring. Okay, so he had an encounter at his house, and he lived in Golden, Texas, and it's out in the country, and it's all wooded, but it's still a small downtown little community that you would think of when you see an old country downtown. He lived 3 blocks outside of downtown, and he had I think it was 12 acres right outside downtown. And he had a little cabin, and him and his wife lived in this cabin, and he had a pond behind his house, and then behind the pond was woods, and he had a lot of hog activity, and enough to where he was wanting to get rid of some hogs. So he put up a feeder and started feeding these hogs. He started bow hunting, shooting hogs, eating some of the meat, getting rid of most of it, just letting coyotes take it, whatever. Said he come out there, him and his wife went out one day to put feed up, and he had noticed that a hog was missing, a big one was missing, so they went to go check it out. So they walked out there, and they felt to feed the feeder up. They went over to the area to where they were going to look at, and as they were walking, him and his wife were walking, and the time of day, this was not dark, but getting close to dusk. So they wasn't planning on being out in the woods very long. They were just going to be out there and back. So they got out there, and they walked over where this hog was at. And as they got up to it, behind this brush, this creature stood up. And he said, my God, it just kept standing and standing and standing. And he said, it was huge. He said, I looked at my wife looked at me, and man, we just bolted. We didn't even say nothing. We just turned around and ran back to the house. So he gets back to the house. He gets to the side of his pond, and he stops and he turns around, and his wife's not there. She's not behind him. So he's like, oh my God, what's happened? So he didn't have a flashlight on him because they wasn't planning on being out there that long. So he had to go back into the house. He grabbed a flashlight, calling her name. He was frantic, went out looking for her, and he found her laying on the ground, blacked out. So he got her to come. He got her to come too. Is he okay? You okay? You all right? She's, I guess, I guess I'm okay. He says, well, what happened? And she says, we took off running. I was right behind you. We were hauling butt back up to the house. And she said, we passed a tree. And as soon as you passed it, I got a big old stiff arm come out behind that tree and it clotheslined me and it knocked me out.
Wow.
Wow.
Yep. So she was running and it just went boom, stiff arm from behind a tree. And she said it about took her head off and knocked her out. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And didn't do nothing with her, left her laying. So that's amazing. So that tells me they wasn't aggressive. They just jacking with them. If they were aggressive, they would have killed her.
Yeah.
So crazy.
I found Larry knocked out one time. I had to wave a little bacon under his nose to get him.
That'll do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to switch these pages here, and we will start with questions. So if you have a question, put them all caps.
Good luck, Paul.
Michael Moore asks, have you ever taken any reports or had any sightings in Eastland County area?
Where is Eastland County? What's it near? I don't know that county.
Yeah.
So I would say no.
Mark,
I would
where's
say
it near?
no. If you're, I am in the Northeast Texas area, and my areas is edge of Dallas on the Trinity River. I do like going down Sam Houston, but I'll go Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and all, I've been over to LBL.
Eastland County is west of Fort Worth.
Eastland, west of Fort Worth.
Between Abilene and Fort Worth.
I tell you, it's a person who can talk to that out in that area, a couple of squatchers. And Stephen James lives out in that way. And Debbie LaBouffe. Debbie LaBouffe lives out there, out the other side. But they're further out. But anything in the west area out there, they probably pretty much got some knowledge on what's happening. So, anyhow.
All right. Filmer Bobcat says, have there been any modern sightings in Robertson County, a.k.a. Booger County?
Robertson County. I might have to learn where all my counties are.
Let me look it up.
Where's Robertson County?
He may type it up there before I ever look it up.
Okay.
Robertson County is southeast of Waco.
Ooh, southeast of Waco. I have been down to around the San Antonio area, and I've heard down, what was that area? Bandera. We went to the Bandera area. It was pretty good. I've heard around Austin, Texas. They got a street in Austin, Texas named Harryman Road. And it was out in the country when they named it. And that's the reason they named it, because of sightings on Harryman Road. But now it's populated. It's a residential neighborhood now. So maybe it's Harryman backyard now.
I thought it was because them people from San Francisco moved there.
All right.
Okay, we won't go there.
CD Squatcher. CD Squatcher. I absolutely do. I think the Sasquatch numbers are up in Texas. I grew up in these woods everywhere in Texas since I was 10 years old. And until I was in my 50s, never heard of Squatch, never seen a Squatch in the woods. And I'm in the woods a lot. So within the last 10 years, there has been like a population explosion in Texas, because everywhere you look, they're there. They're there.
Yeah.
You find a waterway, a lake that's wooded, that's not populated, big ponds, deer and hog, they're there. If they're not there, they're visiting there. So,
all right. Quick Witty asked, what is the best evidence to come out of Texas? I've seen some good stuff.
I've seen a lot of good stuff. So many people find so much good stuff. I mean, Gabe Guerrero, he's got good stuff. Bobby Garza's got good stuff. People up around Jefferson, they've got finding good stuff. Jefferson, Texas. Who's got the best stuff? The best part? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people got a lot of good stuff. I think this is good stuff.
Yep.
You tell me.
I agree.
Who's got the best stuff? It's not about who's got the best stuff and who's finding what.
No,
It's
I
about
agree
sharing
with
the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's about sharing the knowledge and getting out there and enjoying yourself too.
that. Definitely.
You think there are more of them in Texas?
Okay, Filmer or bobcats, do you think there are more of them in Texas, or just that they are less concerned about being seen?
Texas has got a lot of swampland around the east, this green belt that runs Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, all the way down to the coast. It gets pretty marshy. I think they're in there to stay in the long run. They're finding good food sources. They're finding new food sources, and why not? Why not move in and habitate it? If I'm going to move from my house to someplace new, I'm going to look for someplace better. So.
All right, Filmer or bobcats, do you have any advice on seeking them out to see one?
I do. I use a thermal imager. Thermal imagers are awesome. They're good daytime or nighttime. It's not just for nighttime. A lot of times you're out in the daytime and you get some thick brush and you see some dark areas in the thick brush. Instead of grabbing that red pen and drawing a red circle, put a thermal imager up and see if you get a heat signature or nothing. Heat signatures, to me, I like them better than I like the night visions. Now we have a friend, and I haven't seen him in a long time, but we have a friend's got a Gen 3 night vision, and it's stupid crazy. Man, it is awesome. It is stupid crazy. I mean, strap one on my head and you just walk, anything looks like you're in daytime. It's just crazy. Good equipment is going to help you find Squatch. I can promise you that. Or you're going to be borrowing people's stuff.
Okay.
Kelly's Pond.
Our friend.
I have been to Kelly's Pond. Hey, Squatching Cowboy. What's up? Joe Pass.
Joe Pass.
Yes, my first sighting was on the left, if you're driving in, but on the left-hand side, up there quite a ways. It was at Kelly's Pond. I just don't like telling areas. Lone Star, everything I do in Sam Houston is Lone Star Trail.
Yeah.
Just because we got so many spots we go to. Do you think or know if ThreeToed or Southern thing only? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a ThreeToed thing only. I know there's a big variance of what people see and what they look like. Let me tell y'all another quick encounter real quick, and it's the difference. So some of these ones that people are seeing, they're big and they're massive. Okay. So I've got Bigfoot stickers all over the back of my truck. I got a couple of Squatches, funny ones, and then some group stickers. So a kid sees my truck, and I'm stopped at a store, and he comes over and says, "Hey, you're a Sasquatcher?" And I look at my truck and I said, "Yeah." So he says, "Man, I need to talk to you about something I seen." He said, I just can't get it out of my head. I can't get it out of my head. Let me talk to you. I said, "Okay, spill it out, brother. Spill it out." So this is on a well-known lake in Texas that's for bass fishing, Lake Fork. I don't know if y'all have heard of Lake Fork, but Lake Fork is a well-known in the United States for bass fishing. And anyways, this guy, him and his father have both had encounters at different times and had different results. This young man was in a bow stand, bow hunting for deer. He had poured out some corn on a game trail, just poured it out of a bag. And he said 45 minutes come by, here come a deer, and it was scooting along pretty good. He said maybe 2 or 3 minutes after that deer come a hog. He said that hog didn't even stop, didn't acknowledge that corn, nothing. It was just kept on trucking. And he said it wasn't 30 seconds behind that hog. He said it looked like a tall black man. And he said it just stood there at my corn and it looked up at me and it opened its mouth and showed its teeth at me and it looked like it had some fangs. And he said it didn't have hardly no hair on it at all. He said it was almost bald. It was skinny and lanky. And it wasn't your big bulky squatch. He said it was skinny and lanky, and yeah, it had straggly hair, but he said it was mainly hairless. Could have been one that was sick, could have been one that was dying or something. Maybe that's why he's running after them deer all and starving to death. I don't know who knows. But that's the difference in what types people are seeing. I mean, you don't always, when you see a Sasquatch, you're not going to see a Patty every time. Oh, that's Patty. That's one Bob Young saw. No, they look different. You may come across some that look like that, sure, but there's a lot of different looking ones out there.
Right.
Let's see. Stephen Ragsdale says, you wouldn't happen to know that feller, would you?
Yeah.
Ask about Cargill Campground, Esquin Trail. Okay, Larry, you go ahead and read the question.
I can't. You already read it.
I'll read it. This is my son. This is my youngest son. It says, ask about Cagle Campground, the equestrian trail, and the broken bat. So
did you hit him with it?
We went out. There's a real nice campground that RV campground on Lake Conroe, and Lake Conroe is in Sam Houston. And I was coming down for the weekend, and my son was the first time out, and I told him about some of my adventures, and he's like, "Yeah, right, Dad. Yeah, whatever. Okay, sure." So I told him, "Yeah, boy, come on, see for yourself. You see for yourself." So we get. He finally goes down there with me, and we're the last ones down there. Everybody else is already set up, and they're out on an equestrian trail when we get there. So we get there, we put our tent up, we got to the equestrian trail. And I tell my son, I said, get ready, because sometimes things happen pretty quick around here. So as we get there, we open the door, and as soon as my son's opening the door, he's hearing a woo, a whoop go off. And one of our other friends that are there, they're sounding back and forth, and they're talking, but back and forth to each other. And that's the first time my son's experienced it, and his eyes look like saucers. Whoa, wow, really? I said, yeah, go down there and check it out. So we walked down with them a little bit and stayed in this one area, and they interacted with us for half hour, an hour. It's pretty fun. Stuff like that's fun. And then the other spot, and when we were leaving out that Sunday morning, that Cagle Campground is a fisherman where all the fishermen put in at. And I think what them Squatch do there, they watch them, the fishing area. I think they go over there and come in and eat that stuff at night, fish guts and stuff, what the other fish and turtles and whatever don't eat. So as we was leaving out one morning, we was getting up right at daybreak, man. They weren't too far out of camp, and
I think we lost him again.
He locked up.
Yeah.
Mark, why do you recommend against shooting that Sasquatch that was standing there in the window pervertedly?
Well, I would personally have reservations about shooting anything that I wasn't going to eat or it was not self-defense. And that's just my personal viewpoint. Of course, I don't judge people for what they do. And when you know as well as I do, Larry, that when you're out in the field and it's pitch black and you're a mile and a half from the vehicle and something starts um, happening around you, you know, the worst thing to do is to panic and allow yourself to have a knee jerk reaction.
I
For
agree.
um, I think it's just important, and this is something that me and you have both that we both practice, that we prepare ourselves and think about situations. It's just like if you were in the service and they train you for battle and what to do. To give an example, one thing that we train ourselves is if we hear some type of noise, whether if it's a vocalization or if it's a tree that's cracking down around you, that we don't jerk our heads in the direction that it comes from. And you have to practice that. I had someone ask me, "Well, how do I practice that?" And I said, "Well, the next time you're in Walmart, have your wife go to the uh, section where they sell milk, and when you're not looking, have her throw that a gallon jug of milk up in the air and come crashing down, and see if you're the only one in the store that don't turn around to see what in the world has just happened." You know, and there are ways that you can practice and train yourselves for when you are out in the field. And
Well, with this situation, it was outside the window looking in the window. The woman was not in any immediate danger. She was scared from what she was seeing. But I mean, even if you're out in the woods and you come face to face with one and you take a shot at it, you've just eliminated one possibility of it just turning around and leaving. You've now made it where it's a life threatening situation to it, and you put yourself in a life threatening situation because you shot it. Because that thing can cover ground quick before you can get another shot or two off. It's
yeah,
done snatched your head off.
and
So
you don't know if there's another one that's out there.
that's exactly right.
So
But
if you was to put a bullet between its eyes and drop it and it strikes, you don't know if another one will see it and then just, you know, go for it and try to
yeah,
take you out.
so many times they just turn and walk away. So I wouldn't push it. I mean, if one was charging me and I had to shoot, I've said it 100 times, I would shoot in the ground hoping it turned around and went the other way.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to force the issue where it's got to decide whether to kill me or me kill it. I don't want to force that issue.
Yeah. And I think Paul probably gave some pretty good advice, was to hang up from him and call the police. And I would suggest shutting your curtains and where
Yeah.
nothing could see in, and just let the authorities handle it from there.
And time again, just lighting one up with a flashlight or car headlights, they tend to leave the area because they don't like that.
You
So,
know, that's a good point, Larry. I'm going to tell you, a flashlight is your best defense against one. Way above, a firearm is
yeah.
you put that light on them, and blind them in their eyes and then take the light off from them. And I guarantee you they're going to exit that area as soon as that light comes off from them and they're not
We
blinded.
hope so.
Yeah.
Get Paul back. I won't be able to sleep without hearing the rest of that story. Are you getting Paul back on?
I don't see him trying. He may have some type of he may have some kind of problems.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, I don't see nothing. We're really just about at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
And
he said he had to go to bed early. He might have just decided to go to bed.
yeah, old Paul might be horizontal about it right now.
Oh, man.
Getting back to your channel, Larry, has anybody offered you any suggestions about what kind of videos they would like to see?
No.
No?
Not that I've seen. I think they like it. I don't know. Several people enjoyed what we did last week. I don't mind getting on there and chit-chatting. The main thing I wanted the views for so I could go live out in the field because I hate editing film. But I don't know. Johnny, I can't do a backflip. Not unless there's a pizza behind me or something. I don't know.
I'm going to send you some stuff. I talked to Shelly the other day, and I've been watching this guy that does stealth camping, and he will do it anywhere or everywhere. One of the last ones I watched, he did stealth camping in front of a police station. And so I had mentioned to Shelly, we got a highway that runs from my house up to Larry's house, and there's different parts. There's mediums, and there's woods in there. And I thought, wow, I said, Shelly, why don't me and you do some stealth camping? And we can get my dad to drop me off and pick us up in the morning, and we'll go off in that little section of woods in between the highway and see if we can get away with stealth camping without the law being called on us.
That's crazy.
Shelly ain't up for that, but
yeah.
But you might be.
I don't know.
It'd be an adventure, Larry.
Yeah, I like adventures for sure, but I don't like getting locked up in the back of a police car and hauled off somewhere.
We'll let you flash that $1 million smile and get us talked up out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably mace us if I do that. Oh, let's see. Somebody asked a question. It was to you about what was the stealth camping channel.
It's Steve Willis is his channel. I would just suggest going to YouTube and typing in stealth camping, and there's all kind of videos that will pop up, but his will be one of the first ones. He's been doing it for some time, and I just see Joe Pass just posted in the chat, hunker down. That's his motto, is to hunker down.
Yeah.
And I asked Shelly to look in the town that she lives in. She lives in a pretty decent sized city, because there was one of those videos where he camped out right behind the the city sign letting you know that you were coming into the city limits, and he got away with it. And but shoot, it'd be fun, Larry. You need to just think about it.
Well, just like Bama said, there's so many homeless people camping everywhere. I don't think unless you're doing something destructive or somebody calls in on you that they're going to bother you.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably.
And I think that you could talk your way out of it. You could, I mean, you'll have cameras and everything else like that. Just say that you got a YouTube channel and you just camp out at different places.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll get you off. That'll make a good video.
Yeah. Keep that GoPro running while you hear the click click of them handcuffs.
Yep, that's right. Crazy. Oh, we do enough stupid stuff without that.
Yeah.
I think we got enough on the docket to do that we'll get by.
Yeah. Well, you need to come up with something because let's see, Paul says that he has no internet connection now.
Well,
so
he must have. Never mind. I ain't going to mention that company because I work for them. Never mind. But it happens. It does happen. So I guess we'll say we appreciate Paul being on, and hopefully we'll have him on again sometime to finish some of the discussion we were having and some of the questions y'all had for him. I hate that it ended that way, but some things you just can't control.
No, and but it was a great conversation with Paul, and and I said it earlier. We really think a lot of Gabe, and to have those two guys on this show and what they're doing, they're both very grounded, and it's great to be able to. For researchers to get together and pick each other's brain and see if there are, if there's something that you have noticed out in the field, and to talk with different enthusiasts that are in different parts of the country and see if there's any common denominators that you can work on. I know. I'm really glad that we have this connection with Duke now, and that he's able to, mention things because he's got a spider web of people all across his country that he talks to, and that's just it's a whole lot better to do that than be one of these guys that do their research 100% behind a computer, and the only corridors they travel are to the refrigerator and back.
That's a good corridor.
Yeah, it's worn out.
Paul says that he didn't get to cover much of anything, and he'd love to come back on. So we'll try to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Paul, and I've learned a lot, and it was one thing. This is going to tickle Rodney, but one little nugget that I have picked up is what he said about raking an area that's got full of leaf litter or pine needles or whatever that you feel is a corridor, and to be able to come back. And, that's something that Patrick Vaughn brought up to us a couple of weeks ago. And so, Larry, on that panhandler's backpack that you got, maybe you can fit a little rake on the back of it.
Hey, what's another 6-8 ounces, But you know, that technique, that is a deer hunting technique that people will go out under the white oak trees and they'll rake out from under them to know if a certain buck or bucks are feeding under that white oak tree. So it makes sense. And I mean, whenever you're walking through the woods, some of the food sources, the turkeys are scratching, so there's fresh dirt there, hogs are rooting. So any place that's freshly, removed of leaves or anything, it's associated with some type of food source, and that may attract the squatch over there to see mushrooms coming up, acorns falling, whatever. So that makes sense.
Or the critters coming in there to feed on them.
All right. So it all makes good sense. Just another little tool.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and end this. And Larry, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't. I just want to thank everybody for the 1,000 subscribers. Now I can go live with no editing, which is fantastic. And just everybody that's having the health problems we mentioned earlier, remember them in your prayers or send good vibes their way. And hope everybody stays healthy and happy.
Well, that's some great thoughts. And I want to thank our moderators for helping out in the chat room. And we want to thank everybody for their support that they give us. It's reading the comments, after one of our shows. That is a pleasure and a joy for me to do, to see the different people come on there and express their gratitude for this podcast. And we thank you, because that means more to us than what you can imagine. And so we want to thank Paul for coming on tonight, and we appreciate everything that he shared with us, and the stories and the encounters, and we will definitely get Paul back on here. So we will go ahead and say night night, footers. Beast TV would like to welcome all of our new Facebook members. Be sure to check out our pictures and videos of possible evidence. And if you haven't checked out the Files tab, there is a wealth of information that you may find beneficial. If you would like to support Beast TV, check out our gear. We have coffee mugs, face masks, gaiters, shirts, and tank tops. The link is pinned at the top of the comment section. Everything is always marked down 20%, so come check out our junk. We want to thank all of our new subscribers and our faithful followers. Also, be sure to check out our field evidence videos and our sister channel, Beast of the Woods. That's Larry's channel. If you want to help us out, make sure that you are subscribed. Click the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Thanks again to each of you for watching, and we will see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Night night, footers.
This has been a Sawdust production.